Welcome, Collective. This is Regina from Pacific Tarot getting ready to do a reading for all signs. And I have been meditating particularly on the moment we're in as we approach the full moon energy in Gemini, the last full moon of the year. And the movement of Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, has been particularly instructive at this time, given that Mercury is part of a very favorable configuration with both Saturn, which has also moved direct in Pisces, and Jupiter, which is in Cancer. So there's a lot of information that is available to us about our feelings, our emotions, the effect or impact of experiences we've had, and our perspective or our interpretation of those experiences. So I pulled a couple of oracle cards up front to kind of get me started. I pulled a final oracle card that I will not turn over until towards the end. So I don't know what this is. I've also pulled some tarot cards in advance, and we'll discover them together. But let's get started with the lovely Glyph Oracle. And I pulled over Archway and Transition. And if you look through the portal, you see it looks like two faint planetary bodies. And this is a direct connection to both the planet Mercury and the planet Saturn. Mercury, as you know, is a fast-moving planet. It has references to Hermes, the Roman god, the messenger of the gods, and Thoth, who occupies a similar but perhaps a larger space, conceptual space, in terms of the way that thought is deified as a concept that individuates human beings. So this ability to use our logical mind, our ability to think, learn, communicate as a tool of allowing for the emergence of truths that we have been busy discovering. And as a result of a lot of the healing work that we've been doing over the last few years for many of us, but in particular over the last, I would say, late summer and fall, those projects, those actions, those behaviors, or those that language that we are contemplating, those projects we're reviewing and readjusting are requiring subtle experiences of discovery that we are preparing ourselves for. So there's a way that language actually allows us to stand on our compassion as human beings. And part of that experience, in terms of Saturn's support for our communication, is the way that we are standing on our integrity, how we are standing in our humanness by allowing ourselves not simply to forgive others as we surrender to experiences that we have only known how to struggle against. And we have gained a sufficient amount of inner healing, inner work, to recognize that by surrendering, by ceasing to fight against or resist the truth of these experiences that we are now ready to face and accept, we allow for more opportunities to create and to discover things that are difficult for us to imagine now. So this is about a bridge that is taking us from one state of unconsciousness, subconsciousness, to a greater state of awareness of our presence, of our power, of the moment that we're in, of the readiness to accept a higher level of truth. And I also pulled in questioning this experience that I believe the full moon is really illuminating for us and emphasizing for us this need to allow the silence of our experiences to speak to us, to allow ourselves the sacredness of meditation, thought, journaling to move us in a direction that was called out through the oracle as overcoming fear. And I like this because it really does put the emphasis back on the powers, the resources we have within us to move ourselves forward in a way. Identifying fear is something that we contain within us as we shun or deny experiences or their impact on us. And the beauty of this Mercury retrograde period in conjunction with Saturn moving forward in Pisces is this ability to face fears and understand the truth of those fears. The truth being that we are all connected. So rather than railing against your enemies or unfair circumstances that have been unjustly burdening you, we come to understand that those experiences, those relationships are here to teach us about our own power to succeed or to fail, to step into the new or to hold ourselves back. That is on us. That is our personal responsibility. So I love this, the courage that is required, the amount of serious, honest work that we have to do within ourselves, naming our real feelings, not censoring them because they don't look like what they should, or the holding on to resentment and anger as a result of the distant past. These are things that are blocking our blessings, that are holding us back, that are keeping us stuck. And this ability to recognize how looking at our fears, facing our fears, actually helps us to overcome them. And this is synchronous with the movement towards the summer solstice. The winter solstice. There's something about summer, clearly, that is important to many of you. Perhaps summer was when you initiated a project that you're now rethinking, as an example. But we're moving towards the winter solstice, the darkest night of the year, which, of course, signals the return of the light moving forward. So this is the time to honor our ability to retreat, to crystallize, to look at what is structural in our experience, to simplify, to be grateful for what we have rather than what it is we don't have or what it is we're grasping for. I'm going to pull these two tarot cards for the transition archway deck, and I have the Queen of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. And it's so interesting how I have been naming the planets Mercury and Saturn as that which is informing this inquiry. And here the Queen of Pentacles, our Earth Mother, divine feminine energy, our willingness to do the work consistently with discipline, with as much neutrality as possible, yet with an incredible amount of attunement to the natural flow of things, the materials we're working with, the crafting, the weaving of resources together to build something beautiful, to build something useful, practical. And the fact that that effort, that expression of love in whatever form it takes is something that we are open to receiving the rewards and benefits of. So as we work, we also are acknowledged, are recognized, open ourselves to receiving love. This can be tricky business, and Saturn really does speak about this. It speaks about this structure, the integrity, the magic of work in the natural world. What is work often appears to us as magic, as miraculous. And yet, this is a consistent effort. And I know I've said this before. Many of you may have heard me say that in art school, one of the very first and primary lessons I learned was that any creation is mostly work, 99.9% work. Inspiration is just the idea, and here we have the ideas. Mercury's action, moving swiftly, bringing together people, connecting ideas and individuals, relationships, opportunities, happening rapidly. Even as we sit in silence, sit in the space of consideration, of thoughtfulness, of honoring our own compassion and our own humility, we are receiving insights, information, opportunities, invitations that are bringing us into areas that we could not venture in independently on our own. So even as we contemplate our value, our presence, our power individually, privately, we understand and welcome others who are the opportunities for greater growth, new activity, new ideas, and new beginnings. We overcome fear. That is part of the purpose of these deep meditative opportunities for us. This place and time to stand still and quantify the healing and growth that you've experienced and how that has transformed you, how that has altered your relationship to fear. And I pulled the Sun card and the Page of Wands. This is lovely. And it's interesting in astrological terms because that's the way I think visually. Jupiter is a part of this lovely configuration with Mars, harmonious configuration with Mercury and Saturn. And so again, these three planets are all supporting us to take this moment, to stand still, to be in silence in a way that welcomes Jupiter's benevolent energy. And it's critically important that Jupiter is in Cancer in its exaltation, where we are honoring our feelings, our positive feelings of growth. We're amplifying those feelings by feeding them. Our gratitude feeds our sense of prosperity and abundance, regardless of what we have. And so the sun really speaks to that, right? The generosity of the sun. Even in winter moss, the holidays that surround the winter time, cross-culturally, this is even an emblem like Santa Claus is synonymous with the Jupiterian energy, the generous, larger than life, jolly, jovial, warm, merry, abundant, and loving. And this is the energy that we are cultivating in our own spirits, this loving nature, this generous nature that highlights the pleasure and joy to be a part of a bountiful world. And this is what we are cultivating for ourselves, what we are preparing ourselves for as we welcome new opportunities, ideas for moving forward, the kind of impact we can have on the world. And the Page of Wands really translates what is often the young child, the baby on horseback. In this card is really this Page of Wands in the form of a blackbird, a crow, a raven, because they too are messengers between worlds. And these are powerful animals. I do believe that my ancestors speak to me through the blackbirds in my neighborhood, in my garden, that I communicate with freely because I'm aware that they recognize voices. And I'm aware that as I walk through my town, my neighborhood, that they communicate with one another about my presence or the presence of someone who honors them, who notices them. And this is perhaps an idiosyncrasy of mine, but I truly honor them as a symbolic messenger between worlds. So in that way, this messenger is bringing in our presence, in the opportunities we anticipate and look forward to, this joy, this excitement, this enthusiasm that we feel as exemplified by the element of wands, of fire, of how spirit is moving us, how spirit touches us. And in many ways, there's such a highlight on what is within us. I feel like in the sun, which is pointing us towards the knowable future, the immediate future, the new year, we are moving outside of ourselves. We're taking action. We're speaking language. We're delivering ideas or conversant with others about building ideas, building projects and plans. And we're enthusiastic in our knowledge that we are doing something that is new for us, or we're seeing something we've been doing before, something familiar in a new way. We're bringing new energy, new wisdom to this new activity. I'm going to briefly, let me turn over the Enchanted Blossom card, and the card is Abundance. And it features the lovely chrysanthemum, but it also features on all of these cards a butterfly that is connected to a beautiful flower. And I love the flower as an emblem, a stand-in for language, the way that we communicate with spirit, the way nature communicates to us. Certainly in the past, various European societies actually codified and ritualized the giving and sharing of flowers. The butterfly being the eternal symbol of transition and much more deeply transformation. So we are experiencing a form of death and rebirth in this experience of abundance as we close out 2025 and look forward to 2026 as a new level, with a new level of energy, as a new version of ourselves. And I'm going to quickly clarify this abundance. Out comes the Fool. I think I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Fool. The Fool is really confirming our rebirth. The Fool can relate to both the beginning and the end of a cycle of life. So the Fool is, as zero, also number 22, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. This is a beautiful emblem for closure that we've gained from the lessons learned, the experiences we are now learning to name, to describe, to interpret in a way that is much more open-ended, much less sealed than perhaps we had felt from the energies of our past, right? That we were already stamped with a certain kind of experience, certain obstacles, or there was a certain lack of opportunities that we perceived were not for us, or we were told were not for us. And here we've gathered the courage, perhaps through resonating, attempting to conform to the expectations of others, resonating with the sense of remaining in the lane that was prescribed for us. The frustrations, the pain of that stuckness has actually given way to a greater faith in who we are and what our potential might be. This willingness to pursue our dreams with all that we need is our memories. That's the wisdom that we are, again, reinterpreting, re-understanding, reconnecting within our bodies again. I'm going to end this collective message here and hope that it's been helpful to you. Until next time, beautiful people, namaste.